Okay, today's date's the 24th, and your objective today is to use slope to graph. So we're talking about slope again, but today we're going to be using it to graph, and then you're going to find and explain the rate of change for real-world problems. Real-world problems means word problems, kind of like that number 17 off Friday's homework about the population of Austin. Okay, so we're going to do some more problems like that today. The first thing you need to know about slope, there's a note here about remember slope means rise over run, but before we get to that, you need to know that slope is abbreviated with an M. So slope is abbreviated with an M. So anytime we talk about M, that M is the slope. So slope is abbreviated with an M. You need to make sure you write that down because I'm not going to write slope hardly ever anymore. I'm going to write an M every time. So you need to know that M is the slope. Okay. So remember from Friday, slope means rise over run. Rise means to move up or down. Up is a positive movement, down is a negative movement. Run means move left or right. Left is a negative movement, right is a positive movement. So remember we said slope is abbreviated with an M. So M equals rise over run. The reason why slope is an M is because slope is all about moving. Moving up, moving down, moving left, moving right. So it's abbreviated with an M because slope is all about moving. Moving, moving, moving. Moving up, moving left, moving down, moving left, moving up, moving right, moving down. All about moving, 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 moving. Okay, so it's important that you remember that. So what we're going to be doing today is using the given point and the slope to graph the line. So looking at number 1, we have M equals 3 over 2. Remember M stands for slope. So slope equals 3 over 2, and we have the point negative 2, 2. The way we do this is we take this point and we graph it. So ignore the slope for a minute and just graph negative 2, 2. Negative 2, 2 is right there. Okay. So I plotted the point. So I plot the point, negative 2, 2, and now I focus on my slope. My slope is 3 over 2. Remember, slope is all about moving, 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 moving. The top number is the rise. So it tells you to move up or it tells you to move down. Because that 3 is positive, that means we're going to move up. So I'm going to put a little up arrow by the 3 so I remember that. The 2 is the run. That tells you to move left or right. So because 2 is positive, I'm going to move to the right. So again, I put a little arrow. Now I go to this point that I graphed and I move. Remember, slope is about moving. So I move according to these arrows. I'm going to move up 3 and over 2. And I put another dot there. Remember, slope is the rate of change from one point to the next. So slope is how I get from one point to the next. So I started out at negative 2, 2. To get to the next one, I move up 3 and over 2, and I put a dot. Now, in order to graph a line, you always have to have 3 points. So normally, we would move up 3 and over 2 more. But I can't do that on that piece of graph paper that's there. It's not big enough. So what we do is we reverse both directions. So you're going to reverse both directions. You're going to go back to that starting point, the negative 2, 2, and you're going to go down 3, so down 1, down 2, down 3, and left 2. Now, why is it okay to go down and left? Because down and left means negative and negative, and if you simplify negative and negative, you're right back to a positive. Now, the other way we know that we went in the right direction is look at those 3 points. When I line up a straight edge and I connect them, do they connect in a straight line? Yes. Remember, linear is all about straight lines. So I know I went in the right direction because I got a straight line. So this was my starting point. I went up 3 and right 2, and then I went back there and I went down and to the left so that I could have 3 points in order to graph. Okay? So number 2, we have the point -3, 4, and m equals -2/5. I'm going to ignore the m for a minute and plot the point -3, 4. So do that. So on your piece of graph paper that's there, plot the point -3, 4. So -3, 4 is right there. Now our m is -2/5. Remember we talked on Friday that the negative sign could be out front like it is there, or it could be on top, or it could be on the bottom, and it all means the same thing. So I'm going to rewrite that -2/5 as -2/5. The -2 on top, 5 on the bottom. What does it mean to have a -2 on the top? It means to go in what direction? Down, because top number means to go up or down. The 5 on the bottom means to go to the right. So let's do that. Let's go down 2 and right 5. So down 2 over 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my next point on the line. Now because this graph is is not as tight as the last one, I can do it again. I can go down 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, and I am off a little bit. Now if I try to reverse this, remember I talked about that the negative sign could be at the top or at the bottom? If I wrote this as 2 over -5, that would mean go up 2 and left 5. So if I do that, I go up 2 and I go left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I'm off a little bit, but that's okay. Now I'll know if I went in the right direction if my straight edge will line up all of those points. And does it line them all up for a straight line? Yes. Okay, so it doesn't matter where your negative sign goes, top or bottom. Now, sometimes it makes it easier to graph if it's in one place or the other, but it's really up to you. I always put it to the top just because it's easier to remember that it's there than on the bottom, and it's usually easier to move up or down than it is to left or right. Okay. So number 3, m equals 3/5, and we have the point 1, 3. So we're going to graph 1, 3, just like we have been. Plot that point. That has to be your starting point. So 1, 3 means go over 1 and up 3. And m of 3/5. Remember, m is slope, and it's how we move. The 3 on top means to move up 3. The 5 on the bottom is positive, so it means to go to the right. So I'm going to move up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now again, I need 3 points in order to make a line, but I obviously can't move up 3 more and to the right 5 more, because that's way off the graph. So go back to your starting point and reverse directions. Instead of moving up, you're going to move down. 1, 2, 3. Instead of moving to the right, you're going to move to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, you'll know if you went in the right directions if they make a straight line. So use something for a straight edge. You can use the edge of your binder, folder, or something. Hopefully you've been using a straight edge all along. And it makes a straight line. That's how you know you graphed it correctly with the slope, is if you make a straight line. If you forgot to reverse the directions, if you only went down and then to the right, you wouldn't get a straight line. You'd end up down here. And you would know, oh, not a straight line, went in the wrong direction. Has to be a straight line. Remember, this is all about linear. Linear means straight line. Okay, let's look at number 4. This time we have an m of 3 and the point 4, -2. So just like every time, we plot that point, -4, -2. It's right there. This time our m only has one number. It only has a 3, so it's a whole number 3. So you have to think, what number goes on the bottom of a whole number? When there's no denominator, you put a 1. Okay? So if our m is 3 over 1, that means to move up 3 and right 1. So up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. And if I want, I can reverse the direction. I can go down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. You only need 3 points, so you could have stopped it going up and over and up and over. But so that you know, you reverse them both and it stays the same. And connect. So the point of this problem was to show you that if your m has no denominator, put a 1 there, and then it does. Okay? So number 5. I want you to take a minute and I want you to try this one completely on your own. Just like we did all the others. Plot 5, 1, and then move according to your slope. So I'll give you a minute to try this one completely on your own. Okay, so 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1. Our m of negative 1/4, I'm going to move that negative sign to the top. Remember I said I do that every single time? I move it to the top because it's easier to remember. Okay, so negative 1/4 means go down 1 and right 4. Okay, so when I try to go down 1 and I try to go right 4, I'm way off the graph. So instead of putting the negative sign at the top, because of my graph, where should I have put it? At the bottom. Does it matter that I moved it to the bottom? No, because now I'm going to move up and I'm going to move left. And watch, when I do that, up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, look, now I'm back on the graph. Whereas had I gone down and to the right, I'd have been way off the graph. Well, let's do it again. Up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So it doesn't matter where the negative sign was. What I'm trying to show you is that it doesn't matter. It could be at the top or it could be at the bottom. You get the exact same answer. Okay, so use something for a straight edge, connect your points, make it a line. Okay, so the next few problems are word problems. Where you have to find the average rate of change and then explain what it means. Okay? Remember, another word for average rate of change is slope. So you're going to find the slope of these. At 1 o'clock, the temperature registered 85 degrees. At 7 o'clock, the temperature was 61 degrees. So the first thing I do is I make these into ordered pairs. At 1 o'clock, the temperature was 85. So 1, 85. At 7 o'clock, the temperature was 61 degrees. So 7, 61. Then I use that formula that we talked about on Friday. Remember, it was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I labeled these x1, y1, x2, y2. Remember, x1, y1 just means the first x and y. x2, y2 is the second x and y. Then I plug it in. 61 minus 85 over 7 minus 1. So when I do this, 61 minus 87 is negative 26. 7 minus 1 is 6. So when I simplify that, negative 26 over 6 simplifies to negative 13 over 3. Okay? So there's our average rate of change. So what does that negative 13 over 3 mean? The 13 on top is the temperature, and the 3 is the hours. So that means the temperature, because it's a negative, that means the temperature dropped 13 degrees over how many hours? The denominator is 3, so over 3 hours. So our slope is negative 13 over 3, and that means the temperature dropped 13 degrees over 3 hours. So on your assignment today, you're going to show your work just like that. You're going to write it as ordered pairs. You're going to plug it into the formula, simplify it, and then write it as a sentence. Because that's negative, it has to be dropped. If that were a positive, that would mean it would have been going up 13 degrees over 3 hours, but because it's a negative, it's dropped. So temperature dropped 13 degrees over 3 hours.